Hello. Um, you know what? I wanted to just start off real quick before I get into my little spiel about what I've learned, because I feel like I'm going through a chironic period in my life right now. Um, but with that being said, I just wanted to say some things out and get it out the way. When I first started my YouTube channel, I really wanted to be like a YouTube, like a star, I guess you could say. I really wanted to have like a big following. I really wanted to be, just a YouTuber. And I started doing um, things that I thought would get me that um, by being, certain, like amplifying certain things of myself, which would be doing readings. But instead of doing the readings that I felt were showcasing my natural, um, what I'm naturally drawn towards, which is helping to heal and grow people. I was doing the things that were like celebrity readings and things like that. And so I really wasn't being authentic to myself. I was doing, what at the time some people that I was connected to and friends with, what they suggested and what they felt other people would watch. So I accept that I um, the opportunity in being what I thought I wanted to be and doing it uh, in the way that I thought I would do so don't exist for me. And I relinquish anything that has held me back from like showing up as my authentic self um, because of a concern that being my authentic self would not get me what I wanted or would not be accepted by others or whatever in the capacity that I wanted it to be. Um, and so, with that being said, I just want to say if anybody became a follower of mine on here simply because of the things that I was doing that was low vibrational, which was gossip and things like that, messy readings, and people who have booked me when I first started doing readings when I was just doing me reading. Um, People had me doing spiritual readings and even spiritual work that was really against my code of ethics. I want to apologize because that person is not available to you anymore and will never be available anymore. And I'm not going to be coming into that anymore. Okay. So that's that. Let me go plug my computer up real quick. So, go like this. All right. So the first thing I want to do is start off by saying my name is not Zolani. My name is Natalie. Um. So yeah, the first thing is my name is not Zolani. My name is Natalie, and I had chosen to use Zolani back in 2015, 2016. So it's been a good chunk of time that I've been using that name. Um, and Zolani was a name that I really used as like, it feels to me now that I'm looking back, it was like a way to escape my life in a way. It was a way to not be Natalie anymore, not to kind of like separate myself presently from what I experienced in the past. So Zolani is not my real name. Um, I've I've even thought about permanently changing my name to Zolani, but I I've started to make peace with that. I am who I am. Everything about me is um, my life, my destiny, the parents that I chose, the day of birth that I, came into this world, and everything, every event that I've experienced in my life has been a part of my journey. So I don't desire to separate myself from who I am and who I've always been, simply because of trauma. So I realized, like, choosing to go down the path of like changing my name and going by something different was really a form of dissociation from my own life, and it was really preventing me from really doing the work to heal. And so getting into a place of really truly 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 healing, ooh, it's kind of a lot for me right now, but getting into a place of deep and true healing, I have decided to start going by my actual name. And I have also decided to, um, just embrace everything about me, and to um, not to hide anything about myself that does not feel perfect. So I'm just gonna show up as me, you know. So with that being said, that's a lesson that I've experienced in dealing with my Chiron, in activating my North Node, which I talked about previously, and in this transit that I'm experiencing of Pluto transiting my Sun in the 12th house. So, with that being said, um, the reason why I'm speaking about Chiron, because Chiron is in my 8th house. And Chiron in your 8th house, when you are a person that has Chiron in your 8th house, that means the things of the 8th house are going to hurt you. Um, really, wherever Chiron is at, the things pertaining to that house are going to be tender spots for you, and they're going to be painful to you. Um, and so for me, the 8th house, things that are tender anyway, because the 8th house is a tender space in your chart. It's very personal, very private. Is the things that you keep hidden, the things that you really only reveal and share once it's because it's sandwiched between the 7th house and the 9th house. So the 7th house is, when you are starting to embrace the other, when you're connecting to the other. And the 7th house also is ruled by Libra, and Libra is ruled by Venus, and Libra also is exalted with Saturn. So Saturn and Venus together actually show commitment in marriage, right? Long term Saturn commitment, Venus is relationship, so like a marriage or a committed relationship, or even Venus can represent money and commitment. So this could be business, investments. This could be, things that you are forming, breaking bread and sharing, and merging, even balancing and connecting with another person. And in that union, in that connection, in that conjunction that you are then showing somebody at some point your true self, because right, the 5th house is dating, right? That's dating, that's you know lust, that is limerence. It's not love, it's just kind of like the excitement of getting to know somebody and having a good time, and just letting it flow. And you can have like that primal urge, because the 5th house also represents children, so it can represent procreation and that type of connection, like where it's like sexual and things like that. um but so to get to the 8th house, you have to have the foundation of the 7th house. So the 8th house is the succeedent house, which means that it comes after, it succeeds the 7th house. So in order to get to the 8th house, the 7th house has to be activated in some way in order for it to really I guess you could say, for it to take, uh, for it to really open up and for you to really get the full experience of it, right? And so, um, this is because, the eighth house represents intimacy. And people always say intimacy is into me, you see, right? So you're letting someone see into you. You're letting someone come into your private space. That's why the eighth house represents sex, because it is a private space. It is your private parts, which the eighth house rules Scorpio, and Scorpio rules the genitals and the reproductive systems and things of that nature. And so when you get here, Chiron in the eighth house means that somebody that you have allowed close to you, because that's the seventh house have to be activated. Someone who you know, or someone who you have connected to, befriended, been in a relationship with, someone who you've had sex with, or someone who you have been close enough to form a bond, is that's where that pain is going to come from, because it's a very personal pain. This is personal pain. This is pain from those that you have let in. This is pain from those that you have had close to you. This is pain from those who you feel you thought you could trust, because that's the eighth house. The eighth house is trust. You have to have trust. That's the foundation. That's why you have, it supports the second house, any house second to the house before it. The next house is going to be the support of that house. That's why any house that's second to a house, it represents anything like the gains of that house, right? So, for example, the second house in your chart is second to your first house. So the gains of who you are, the things that you have, the things you have acquired and accumulated, go into your second house, right? And so, for example, your fourth house, well, there's the fifth house, which comes right after it. That's second to the fourth. And so that anything, the gains of your home, your family, your life would be your children. So you tend to leave things to your children. Your children tend to add to your family and to your home and things like that. Well, with the seventh house, which is marriage, commitment, business, and things like that, well, that is your gains come from that is you're gaining resources because you're joining forces with one another. It also represents, debt and crisis, because you are not just taking someone's money. Maybe you're taking on someone's financial debt, because maybe they didn't pay their credit cards, and now that you're married, their debt is your debt, you know. Or it could be that now that you're married, somebody's what you call it, like their bad life, their crisis, their trauma, their parents, because the in-laws also come into the eighth house as well, are now your parents. Anything that was theirs as an individual, right? Once you become activating your seventh house, that eighth house then becomes activated thereafter, and anything that y'all have had separately is now collective. So that's how you become a step parent, so that your husband or wife's children become your children. When you married, that's the eighth house. That's the gains of that house. So anything that was there is when you get married, when you get connected, when you form a connection or a bond, the eighth house gets activated. And same with business. Business also does the same, where that person's credibility, that person's credit, that person's contacts, that person's resources, that person's vendors or whomever, their staff. When you merge companies, they become yours, they become one. And that's why scorpionic energy, plutonic energy, eighth house energy is the merging of two into one. Okay. And with that being said, when you have Chiron, which is the wounded healer, the wounded healer is going to hurt you, meaning that people who you let in, people who you let close, people who you intimately share with, people who you join forces and merge with, their demons become your demons. Their hurt becomes your hurt. Their trauma becomes your trauma. Their debts become your debts. So Chiron in the eighth house means that your connections with others, the results of those connections, the gains of those connections can come at a cost. They can come at a painful cost. They can come at a cost that can really hurt and destroy you because the eighth house has multiple things. It has gains, it has sudden events, crisis, trauma, life and death, rebirth, transformation. Um, it can have accidents come into the eighth house because that's a sudden event. It can have surgery, trauma, um, things that really um, are life altering. And so when I'll talk about my personal life, my personal experience with this particular placement. So as a person who has Virgo in the eighth house, Chiron in the eighth house, and Mars, in the eighth house as well. Um, I will say personally, I've suffered a lot at the hands of my relationships. The results of a lot of my relationships have hurt me, set me back, and caused me to go through some sort of life and death cycling. Um, for example, um, I've never talked about this, in a really like extremely public space. But when I was 19 years old, I was in college and I met this guy. And I'm gonna be honest, his name's Chris. So I met this young man named Chris. I was 19, he was 21. And we started talking, and immediately in this connection, me and Chris, I actually started to realize we had a lot of trauma in common with each other. We actually both had really rough families, rough upbringings, and we were both the ones that were trying to change the trajectory of our lives and our families. And so we were both trying to make a change by going to school. And so my thing is, I went far away from my family to go to school, and Chris was going to school from home because he wanted to help his family. So eventually, as life happened, um, long story short, I was put in a position by my own father who manipulated me into doing, helping him and helping him have some sort of financial support from the government by claiming me and all sorts. Long story short, I'll talk about my dad one day. But my father, he used me to get what he needed, and in the process offered, hey, I will help you by giving you some groceries, and I will do this and that for you, which he did one time. And the next time he offered to, come back in another couple days to fill up my refrigerator. And he never did. My dad never did. And at the time, I was working a job at McDonald's and had to walk round trip like 8 or 9 miles a day to make $600 a month. Crazy. Had to be at work at 4:30 in the morning, and I was still trying to go to school, trying to figure my life out. And Chris was trying to go to school, and his brother was doing cocaine, and his mom was like experiencing a lot of trouble with her alcoholism. And so there was a lot of problems between both of our families collectively, right? And so me and Chris, we made the decision to, we're just going to live together. And initially, I was thinking, well, this is more like a roommate situation. I wasn't really looking at it like we're really going to be together, but we trauma bonded very much, and we became in a relationship. So with this, neither of us are really in good spaces. We were both really down bad. But he moved to come to my apartment that I was living in, and immediately after the start of that relationship, like immediately everything changed for the worse. And that was the activation of Chiron in my eighth house. The eighth house was activated because I started a relationship. As soon as you start your relationship, your seventh house, you are now activating, you know, your eighth house. Just like when you start your fifth house, as soon as you initiate that, you activate your sixth house because your fifth house is dating. But the sixth house is when you start to devote. And so a lot of times women, we activate ourselves and we activate our relationships um, by we're starting to devote and do things for men um, that we're dating because the sixth house comes right after the fifth. And we start doing things for men. And a lot of times we do these things for men to show them that we'll be good wives because the step after that is the seventh house, which is marriage. And so a lot of times women show that we're good candidates for marriage because we do a lot of the sixth house things. And so, um, and and another thing is that when you start doing a lot of things for people, when you're using your sixth house, that makes you feel obligated to the relationship. But the other thing is that the sixth house is 12 spots from the seventh, which is really technical astro speak, but it just means that you tend to lose a lot of your energy through things that are 12 spaces from a house. So you tend to lose a lot of things. The marriage is going to be lost to the sixth house stuff, which is the day to day, the mundane, the debts, the disputes, the arguing, and things like that. And so, anyway, long story short, me and Chris got into a bad relationship, and my whole life turned upside down as a result of that relationship. Um, but because I have Chiron in Virgo, there's like this desire to heal everybody but myself and handle and process everybody else's traumas but myself. I wasn't healing me. I wasn't fixing me. I wasn't dealing with what I was supposed to be dealing with. Instead, I was trying to make this man and his life and his situation better by putting my own needs last. I let him come and live with me when I had no business doing so, but I was a freaking child. I didn't know any better. And I let myself get turned upside down as a result of that. And so, fast forwarding, you know, a lot of things happened in this relationship. I actually had gotten pregnant. He and I were also engaged at some point, and all these other things. And I wound up not having the baby. I wound up having an abortion, and it also, um, and then skipping skipping some pieces over about my life is after moving on, moving forward, and moving past that relationship, Chris continued to stay in contact with me. And I didn't know much about it at the time, but eventually he convinced me about a job somewhere, and I went and took it. And my ignorance led me into a position where I would have to fight for my life, literally, because this man actually almost killed me. He busted my eyes, my nose, my lips. He did all kind of gruesome, horrific things to me as a result because he felt that because I was living and breathing and our child was not, that I did not deserve to live. And he also, he humiliated me, he degraded me physically, mentally, emotionally. That relationship actually brought a lot out of me. And the funny thing about it is this abuse took place after the relationship was over for well over a year. It was over, but yeah. So he assaulted me, and he almost took my life. And I speak about that because I've experienced many experiences in my life with this Chiron and Virgo, Mars in the eighth house Chiron in the eighth house energy that I have carried in my life. I experienced many life and death situations. This wasn't the only one. It is one of the most jarring because it happened with somebody who I never thought it would happen with, because I always thought that this was somebody I was going to have a family with. This was somebody I, considered marrying. This was somebody that was the father of my child. This is somebody who all I was trying to do was help them be a better person. This was somebody who I really I thought loved me and who I had care for and things like that. So when I saw myself, almost dying, and seeing my life literally flash before my eyes, and even I felt my life slipping through my own fingers, I'm sorry, this is giving me a lot of anxiety. But when I saw that happening, it really hurt me in a way that was really different because, I've had a lot of people hurt me in my life. I've had a lot of people close to me hurt me in my life. And I just, for some reason, never would have thought it would have came from him, you know? And that's one person. Some other person that was pretty close to me that I feel really, really hurt me is my baby daddy, my son's dad. And it was a really painful, um, traumatizing experience. And even friends that have betrayed me, that I've let in, that I've let be close to me, people who were supposed to be helping me, who hurt me, people who took advantage of me, people who were trying to sexually violate me. I remember thinking about this and talking about it, but I've experienced sexual violations by like 10 people, like 10 times, like 10 significant times, and people, and some of the ones that I can't even remember because I've blocked it out of my head when I think about how painful that is, how painful life has been for me. Um, when I think about how it feels like being there for other people has been easier than being there for myself, and doing things for other people has been easier, you know, because it's like one of those things that I can really see and feel someone else's pain because I know what it looks like. I know what pain looks like even when you're smiling. I know what pain looks like even when you're laughing. I know what pain looks like even when everything seems to be looking good and pictures are saying 1,000 words, including the I'm hurting and I'm sad and I'm in pain and I wish somebody could see me internally. I can see all of that. And so, me having the sensitivity is to see into the spiritual world, communicate with the spiritual world, and knowing all that, it also gives me that insight of seeing into somebody's spirit and soul. And I feel like at the time with this Chiron energy, people don't talk about this, but Chiron in the eighth house or even Chiron in Scorpio can be that you've literally been violated in the most tender way. Like, and when I mean tender way, I mean like in your most vulnerable places, and the one place that you let somebody see, and your one place that's insecure, the one place that you don't show the world, but you let one person see, and they come and they stab you in that one tender spot. That's what I mean by that type of violation. I've had people do that. And so Chiron in the eighth house will make you have a wall up because you don't want people, when you let somebody in, it's like, damn, like you can't even tell if they're going to be good or bad for you because there are so many people who will be a wolf in sheep's clothing when you have a Chiron in the eighth house, because they want to see your wounds, they want to see your weak spots, so that way they can hurt you. And like Chiron is shaped like a key. Like they're literally opening the key and putting that shit right in your wound, and they're hurting you. And like it also can represent a key putting into your lock. Like it can even represent that, like trying to unlock you. And I've experienced such traumas with people that I know, people that I love, hurting me and taking advantage of me and putting me in compromising situations and destroying my life and turning my life upside down and putting me in all these crazy positions. And like when I think to myself about that, it's so painful, and it makes it's like it's I'm sorry, I have a little bit of anxiety now that I see that there are people watching me. But I have had bad things happen to me. Life and death things happen to me at the hands of people who I thought I could trust. And it makes it hard for me to let people in and to trust and to open up to people and let people know what's going on and let people know how things are and what is actually happening beneath the scenes, because you never know if that person is going to be worthy of 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 bearing that burden with you. You know, if they're going to handle it, if they're going to respect it, if they're going to, if things happen, if things come to an end, if they're not going to air you out and display everything to the world. But the thing about the Chiron experience, like I said, is accepting, especially with Virgo. Virgo is mutable earth, meaning that yes, you can change things, right? You can um, maybe you can chip some marble into art, right? That's mutable earth. Mutable earth is also, you know, the mountains that form as a result of plate tectonics and earthquakes. Mutable earth is dealing with, um, the land that grows as a result of, you know, um, a mountain erupting or something like that. Mutable earth is um, anything that can change, like a sinkhole. It could be a landslide. It could be even an avalanche, I guess you can say. Um, it's anything about the earth that can change. And see, the other thing about mutable earth is that the earth does change slowly but surely over millions of years, right? Like when you open up certain, places in the earth and you look into things geometrically, not geometrically, geo geologically, my bad. But you can see the sedimentary rock and you see the different layers. And you see that throughout the different layers and eras of time, things have changed and evolved. And that's mutable earth. So it is an evolution, but it's not necessarily something that's meant to necessarily be something that you're going to fix quickly, but it is something that you can adapt to. And the earth does adapt to changes in the world, but it does so over time. And so that's what Virgo energy does. It looks at the world, it looks at what's happening around it, and it adapts to the environment around it. So Virgo becomes a nature's, thermostat, right? It looks at the environment and the climate and it adjusts the temperature to match. It does all of that. It keeps everything. It tries to do its best to keep things balanced, but Virgo is an energy that, because it's Earth and Earth moves slow, but it's also ruled by Mercury, which moves fast, and it's the fastest moving planet. It tries to speed up the process that is supposed to take a long time to do. It's supposed to take, a span of lifetimes to complete certain tasks, and Virgo wants to do it, 4 times as fast as it's meant to be done. And so that's one thing that's against it. And another is that it is very much aware of its limits and its imperfections and still finds fault within itself for its humanity. Virgo is the virgin and the whore. It's literally that. It's, you know, because at the end of the day, there is in the middle of it is a human being, is a person that embodies both the good and the bad, the dark and the light, is the divine feminine, like the divine light feminine and a divine dark feminine energy. And the in between is that I'm a human being and I embody both energies. I'm what I need to be at the time. And that's what Virgo energy is. I'm not light nor dark. I am both. I am whatever needs to be at that moment. And so the thing about that is that my experience is anyway that I have kind of gotten into a place of extremism with my Virgo energy and not in a state of balance, right? Virgo wants to serve and serve and serve and do for others and do for others and do for others. And even like Virgo energy in the eighth house or Chiron and Virgo in the eighth house is like you're trying to serve others, you're trying to give to others, especially in a sexual way. I feel like with as many people who have sexually violated me, and I'm sorry for not giving a trigger warning, but with as many people who have violated me and impeded upon my space and made crude comments and made things and made advances at me and put their hands on me and other things, right? It has made me feel like, well, damn, am I worth anything outside of this? Is this something that am I just here in this earth to be the source of everybody else's pleasure? And that was actually something that my therapist and I spoke about because my entire life has led to me cleaning up everybody else's mess, helping other people and holding their hands through their trauma, and being that backbone for literally every single other person that I have, known and grown up around, and cleaning up for them, fixing everything, making everything look right, everything look good, and also experiencing, you know, violations on my space, on my character, on my personhood, on my body, on my mind, on my soul, on my spirit. And I've experienced a lot of these violations, and it made me feel like I don't have any other purpose in life other than being the source of everybody else's pleasure. But if I am everybody else's pleasure, then what am I for myself? Because they've taken all the good, all the pleasure out of my life, and I have nothing left but pain. And that is what my experience of having Virgo in the eighth house, and Chiron and Mars there. That's what that has made me feel like is that I am everybody else. I'm serving everybody else through their times and helping everybody else through their times and giving everybody else the feel good and the benefits of the eighth house. And then I'm left with all the darkness of it to deal with alone. And it has been painful for me. It has been a very painful experience. But going through this wave of a chironic experience of my eighth house being really activated at this time of my personal transformative journey, it's made me realize that I cannot change that past. I cannot even change other people. I cannot make everybody else good. I cannot make everybody else efficient. I cannot fix everybody else's problems. I cannot fix everybody else's mess. I cannot clean up everybody else's mess. I am not supposed to do that. I have made myself the cleanup woman in everybody's life when I did not have to do so. But that was what I thought I needed to do because that was the experience that I was having. And so now that I know that and I know better in this growth and in this journey, I accept that in the past, that is what I have done. In the past, that is the kind of friend that I was, that somebody can call me up, dump all their emotional baggage on me. I help them sort through it. But then when I'm going through it, I have to go through it alone because that same friend cannot give to me. I have been the friend that has basically made everybody else feel good, look good about their life. And then I had to hide my own messes because it made me feel like I have to always have it all together because I'm always putting myself and allowing myself to be put in positions where I have to support everybody else. And so I see with that Chiron energy, Chiron is telling me, girl, you got to heal yourself. You can't fix everybody else, right? You have to heal yourself. You also, because Chiron is in my eighth house, I have to learn how to have boundaries with other people. Chiron has let me be hurt because I did not know how to maintain boundaries while still being intimate. I didn't know how to do that. I let people get intimate with me way too fast with that energy there. Mars is in my eighth house. I had a lot of quick, intimate connections with people. It's like a person can be my friend and then boom, I feel like they're my best friend and they're immediately knowing my whole life. Or seeing a guy, meeting a guy, having a sexual connection with him quickly. Like I've had a lot of one night stands and I've had a lot of like just things that I feel like have shown I had really no sexual boundaries at a point in my life. And that's growth that I'm seeing because again, I internalized from being young that I'm everybody else's pleasure, I'm everybody else's source for what they want and they're good, and I was to be used, and I was mentally conditioned to do so because of how many times I've been hurt in my life and how many people have violated me in ways like that it made me have a very um, unsavory and very low value view of my own sensual proprietary and my autonomy as a woman. So I have had to grow and develop esteem because it's the opposite of the second house. Me and it's opposite of Pisces. So I had to learn how to spiritually value myself and develop my strength spiritually, and also learn how to value my independence and to value my intuition and to value my spirituality and my space, because the 12th house represents your space, your personal space, your spiritual space, and having to learn how to spiritually build myself up because I did not have a very strong spirit early on. It was very much, it was broken. And so being an Aquarius rising, I had to pretend that I didn't care because it was my only defense. But I didn't care. I am very sensitive. I have a fucking 12th house stellium. Very sensitive. And I have a lot of Scorpio and Pluto placements. So I'm super sensitive. But I just did not know how to let people see that. And I let myself continue to be hurt and violated because I did not know how to express emotion, did not know how to express my that I was violated. I didn't even know how to tell people when things was happening to me. I didn't even know how to articulate that this person in this life, in this family that is sleeping in my house hurt me. I didn't even know how to say that. I just internalized everything and kept everything quiet. And then it just created anxiety for me. And so I have a lot of anxiety surrounding and surrounding vulnerability, and a lot of anxiety surrounding intimacy. And it fucks with my head a little bit because you want the intimacy, but you don't want to experience it because you're scared of what it can bring. And so that has caused me to have what you call a disorganized attachment style. And I would encourage you to look it up if you even think you understand a little bit of what I'm saying. But but yeah, so Chiron in Virgo, you have to learn how to heal yourself. Chiron in the eighth house means that you have to learn how to heal your your what you call it, your traumas. You have to face them. You have to face your fears. You have to open up. You have to be intimate. You have to let that pain that you've hidden and open it up. And then me, I have a North Node in Scorpio, so I'm here to evolve through my emotional pain and thrive from it and grow from it and be better, right? So as a result of that, I'm being in a place where life is pushing me to um, really push myself in a way that is not comfortable, right? I'll fucking Scorpio North Node means I have the Taurus South Node. And comfort is what I like, it's what I'm used to. Comfort in staying the same, comfort in having everything that I'm, surrounded by lavish and luxury things, having an abundance of things. And Scorpio energy is stripping you. Pluto strips everything that isn't nailed to the ground. And going through Pluto transits right now with my son being transited by Pluto and all my fucking stellium, really. Everything that I've ever known, everything that I ever once held on to, everything that I once kept in my life that really didn't belong there, but I just held it because I just didn't know how to let go. Because of that Taurus South Node, it is getting hit, and things have been snatched and pried from my hands. And that change and that drastic shift in my life has really, it has been traumatizing to say the least. Going through such deep shifts in my life has been traumatizing. Changing and evolving, especially by force, is such a painful thing to do. And I will also say, Chiron in the eighth house, it forces you to evolve because you are going to have to become a healer in the areas that you've been hurt. So for me, I have helped people through their inner child traumas. I have helped people who have been sexual assault victims, domestic violence victims. I did not realize how many of my clients throughout the years would actually have been in, one or more of the same situations that I have found myself living that I had to, grow and evolve from. And it also represents like deep healing, healing your intimacy, healing your debts. Like this could be your own personal debt, ancestral debt, karmic debt. This could be life debt, financial debt. This could even be like um, finding debt gains in stocks and and things like that. Overcoming, coming up from the trenches, getting up out of the horrible things, the bad things, the things that you've gone through, and seeing you thrive. So it's so funny. A lot of people throughout the years have come to me in the most, I would say, their version of a rock bottom or what they felt like was a rock bottom. And it's like I did not realize how many people feel like they can come to me when they need somebody to help grab them up from the bottom. But that's what Chiron does. Chiron in the eighth house does that because I become an expert in things of the eighth house because it's such a natural experience for me that when somebody is going through it, they tend to reach out to me and I can help them out because I have this extension that I can hand them with this Chiron. They can pull them up and help them to see that their their traumas, though they may be painful in this moment, in over a grand scheme, they can overcome and surpass this moment. And so that's what Chiron does. It allows you to become an expert in this area. It allows you to help others. Wherever Chiron is in your chart, you become a person that people can come to when they're going through that moment. And so for me, taking the time to heal my traumas and to make peace with my Chiron and to fix it. And even though those wounds will always be there, I literally have wounds here and literally all of these. Well, you probably can't see them, but I have wounds everywhere. I have this bite here. That's from where Chris literally dug his teeth into me. He bit me in that fight and things like that. Like it actually turned yellow and stuff like that because it actually got infected. All kind of crazy stuff. Like I have scars that will never go away. And that's what Chiron is. Chiron will never, that pain, that scar, that wound won't go away, but it can heal. And then you can help others heal, right? I'm never going to have a normal hand. My marks all over my body are never going to go away. But I can learn how to deal with it, heal from it, and help others who have permanent wounds heal themselves and continue to move forward too. And that's what that does, right? And so if you have Chiron and Virgo, I hope that you can learn the tools and take the time to heal yourself because you are a person that heals others naturally. You have a healing energy. Virgo energy is healing. Pisces energy is also healing. But you have to internalize it. You have to put it towards yourself first. So for me, I've lived my life for all of these years. I'm 26 now. I've lived my life all these years and I've never taken the time to heal myself. Never. Hi, Casey. Hi, Andre. I've never healed myself. I've only continued trucking along with the pain. I'm not doing any readings right now. I'm talking about Chiron. But I've never took time to heal myself, and now that I'm healing, I'm seeing how important it is for us all to take a moment and to take a step back and heal. Because see, Virgo comes before Libra, which means the sixth house comes before the seventh, which the sixth house is your health in your body. You need to make sure you are good. Your mind is right, your body is right, meaning like you're healthy. You need to make sure that you are putting yourself first. You really want to make sure you're doing good service to yourself, that you're all good, right? Just like people before they go and they have sex, they should go and get an STD test. That's activating your sixth house. So that way you can connect in the seventh house and then you activate the eighth house, which is where the sex comes in. You need to make sure you're taken care of, right? You want to make sure you're good, you're cleared by the doctor. You know what I'm saying? You want to make sure that that's good, right? You want to make sure that your life is right, your money is right. You want to make sure that you are in a good enough space, your sixth house is taken care of before you activate that seventh house. Because if you don't, then guess what? That eighth house is going to see nothing but all them problems that the sixth house didn't fix and solve and resolve first, right? That should have been handled first. Right. So if you, right, so the sixth house is your disputes, your debt, even because the eighth house is also debt, but the sixth house is you could have that's you should pay your bills because the sixth house is paying your bills. Your bills are your sixth house. Your sixth house is you need to go to work to take care of your everyday life. You need to find a way to take care of yourself, right? Sixth house is brushing your teeth. Because if you don't, your eighth house, which is where surgery is at, you have to have your fucking teeth taken out. That's what that's about. Sixth house is eating your fucking vegetables, drinking your water, so that way your eighth house, you know what I'm saying? You don't have get no fucking bladder infection and no UTI and no shit like that. Like you're good. You know what I'm saying? And so your pee don't smell like motherfucking asparagus juice or something, you know? So that's what that's about. Your sixth house is important. You have to really make sure that you're taking care of yourself because your seventh house is where you start to connect with other people. But if you're not fixed, you're not healed, if you're not whole, if you're not taking the time for that sixth house Virgo energy to be fixed, and that 12th house energy also to be fixed, because it's that axis, they all work together. If your sixth house is not in alignment, you don't need to be in a relationship. But a lot of people skip over that. They don't think about that. I know I didn't. Let me tell you, got into relationships trying to heal other people and not healing myself. And guess what? My life crashed and burned many a times because I did not take heed to the proper order of things. I was not taking care of myself, and here I was trying to take care of other people. The more with Chiron and Virgo, the more you try to fix other people without fixing yourself, the more you're going to suffer. Chiron in the eighth house, the more you try to fix everybody else's traumas and be the person that everybody else leans on without fixing and addressing your own, the more trauma you will experience. Because guess what? The eighth house is inheritance. So you are going to inherit the energies and the demons of those people that you are connecting with, right? Just like, when you have sex with somebody, if they have bad energy on them, they can transfer and more likely will transfer that energy to you. Just like a person you have sex with can give you a disease or an infection, right? Some of those things can be fixed with an antibiotic, and some things you will not ever be able to cure, right? So when you have Chiron in the eighth house, you need to be very careful because your connections with people, whether they're physically, sexually, energetically, or anything, can be transferred to you. That's a very tender space. And you are very vulnerable there because Chiron is a vulnerable place. Your fourth house, eighth house, 12th house are vulnerable places in your chart. So if your Chiron is in your eighth house, you're going to experience bad things, chironic things, painful things, traumatizing things, hurtful things at the hands of those that you interact with and share your energy with, because sex is an energy exchange. But you know what else is an energy exchange? Doing a reading. I always tell my clients that me doing a reading for them is like me having raw sex with them. Just as much intimacy. Just as I can catch whatever you got going on. A person touching you at certain places in your body, it can transfer that energy to you. Person looking at your picture a certain way can transfer energy to you. Magic and witchcraft is in the eighth house too. So Chiron in the eighth house, you could be a person that people put roots on you. People could try to put shit on you. People can be mad. People can want to put shit on, especially Chiron in the eighth house. This could be a person that you're having sex with trying to trap you with roots. This could be a person trying to, bind you. And that's, I will be honest, like when men have learned that I like to do the spiritual shit, I've been on a sexual hiatus. I'm celibate right now, but this one man, the last fling I had last year, he was like, "Oh, what if I want to put a spell on you?" What? That's the shit that Chiron in the eighth house can do, or energy in your eighth house in general. Even Venus in your eighth house can do this for you as well, where you can have a person or people wanting to put energy on you that binds or even controls you, because the eighth house can represent control, because Pluto represents that, and Scorpio does too. So you want to be very careful about people trying to control you, and also you trying to control others if you have Chiron in the eighth house. And I know me, Virgo energy is a control freak, and I have been a control freak. So I've released that, and I'm letting go of the need to control everything, and I'm starting to sink into the chaotic feminine energy because all this chaos, eighth house is ruled by Scorpio, which is a feminine energy. It's the dark feminine energy, which is chaotic energy. So shit ain't always gonna go smooth and in order, and it's not always gonna be a beautiful process. It's not always gonna be understandable or logical. That's just what life is about. And I'm accepting that I've been in some divine dark feminine energy, and it has been something that I've had to learn how to yield to and to allow to take place. And when you stop trying to hold on, that's also Scorpio, you know, you got to release that Taurus South Node. When you stop trying to hold on, everything comes. So you have to control without controlling. You got to control without holding. You have to let things come and let things flow and let things be. And that's kind of what my experience has taught me. And that's, I'm not telling anybody else how to live their life. I'm just saying what I've done in mine and what I've experienced in mine. And I'm just sharing what I've learned in my 26 years of life. And I feel like I've been through a lot, but it does not mean that I know everything. And it doesn't even mean that I know a lot. It just means that things that I have gone through, the things that I've learned. And I could be wrong. But I personally feel that I should not be trying to hold on and control everything. I personally feel that I am not here to serve everybody by literally serving them. I feel like my service to everybody is to help heal myself, love myself, take care of myself, nourish myself, heal from my traumas, heal from my pain, heal from the things that I've experienced, not to attach myself to just anybody, to learn how to maintain boundaries, learn how to build myself up spiritually, learn how to love myself from the spirit and from, internally on out, and to, sorry, be the kind of person that people learn from my example as opposed to me doing the work for them. And that's what I'm doing now at this time. And so as a result, I've actually really stepped back. I used to do readings like every day, like that was my job for the last 4 years. I don't do readings right now. I'm taking a break. My books are closed. I'm not accepting clients. I am not the person that my friends need to be calling right now. Like when they going through something, I can't be there for them. I have taken a break from everybody to just really focus on me and like changing things, changing the way that I eat, changing the way that I wake up, changing my routine also because Chiron needs to do that. Chiron needs to, you need to find a way to help your body, help heal your body. Change the way you eat, change the way you think, change the way you process things because that's all Virgo energy. Because Virgo is digestive, Virgo is the mind because it rules, Mercury, and it's the details. Um, and start working on that part. And that's what I'm doing is really leaning into changing all the things that I need to change in my body. Sixth house is your everyday life. It's like your mundane things. It's the things that you need to take care of. And so if you have Leo in the sixth house, Chiron and Leo in the sixth house, it means that you have to learn how to center yourself in your everyday activities. And you also have to learn how to um, find the good in the everyday. You know what I'm saying? Like find the good in the everyday. Like how I say this, like, a lot of times people want like a life that's like really extravagant, lifestyle of the rich and famous, right? But like you can have an ordinary life, you can have an everyday life, and it can still be beautiful. It can still be great. You know, this even can mean that, Chiron affecting Leo, which is the sun, it means like you really want to make sure your self esteem You want to work on your self-esteem, like a everyday, making affirmations, working with your solar plexus chakra, working with your heart chakra because Leo rules the heart, and making sure that you're taking care of yourself, your circulation, and your circulatory system, and your heart, and your arteries, and your blood vessels, and make sure you're not getting high blood pressure or hypertension. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you're not getting yourself stressed out because Leo really pump it deals with your blood. So you want to make sure that's good, and you also want to make sure that you're not. I would say, you know, because Leo rules the sun, and the sun is, traditionally represents the father, you know. Um, so you want to make sure that you're, um, even if there's pain that could be associated with the father, your or self-esteem, or maybe your father did or didn't lift you up or whatever, but it could also mean that you inherited things from your father that could have hurt you. So it could be if your father had a hard, bad heart or arteries or hypertension or things like that, or if your father had things that he didn't deal with and fix, then that's something that you now have to fix, and it's your duty, it's your service to fix that. Sixth house energy can also represent, like I said, it deals with karmic debt, um, and not just karmic debt, but just physical debt as well. So you know, you can have personal debt or inherited debt that you might need to be fixing, or you kind of was born into a life where you have made a what you call it, like you incarnated to pay the debts of your lineage, of your ancestors, of past lives. That's a lot of energy putting forth, but it also can represent disputes. So you can also help others to resolve their differences. You could be a person that helps others to heal themselves. You could be a person that helps with their self-esteem and self-love rituals. You could be a person that makes a living, because the sixth house can represent your daily work and routine, which can also represent how you make money. The second house, sixth house, and 10th house can be considered money houses because they're earth houses. But you can do something like that and be a healer, a healer of people's heart chakras, a healer of people's, self-esteem. You can help heal people's egos because Leo rules the ego. Um, you can help other people, overcome so many things. And the sixth house is really, like I said, is healing. And then you would look at wherever your sun is at in your chart and what aspects are made to that. And it really will give you a clarity on that. Like, for example, me, Virgo rules my eighth house, and I have Chiron in Virgo, and my and Virgo's ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is in my 12th house, but it's conjunct my ascendant. So helping others in a spiritual way, but it's spiritual, but it's filtered through me as a person, as a physical person, my energy, my aura that I give off. So a lot of people can be drawn to me because of my energy and my aura, and how I am, like I guess people can see that I can deal with the trauma as well. People can sense that if they came to me with anything, that I can understand and help them through it. That's the kind of thing that would do, and that they can probably tell that I've seen some shit, been through some shit, and understand some shit. And so that's what makes people want to come to me. Um, and that's how I can help heal them. But like with you, you would look at wherever your sun is at, because Leo rules the sun, and you would help heal others and help them with their wounds, their ego wounds, and things like that. I was doing a lot of helping. You can, and that's good. You may want to, and that's the thing, right? With Chiron, it starts with healing yourself, right? You can help others till you're blue in the face, but it's never really, really, really going to work fully. You're never going to feel fulfilled until you take the time to do that work for yourself. And then your natural work for yourself is going to be how you help others. Rather than you doing the actual work, your life, the example, the energy, the light, the way you live is going to help others to do the same. For example, some of the people who I look up to the most, they have really given me this silent um, permission, I would say, to be myself. And the only reason why I felt that permission is because they did so out loud, publicly. They've gone through the work to transform. They were once like me, and then they've grown and they've made strides in themselves and in their lives. And then living themselves fully and unapologetically made me feel that I can do the same. And then in turn, when I get to be where they are, somebody that's coming up under me, the next generation will see me living my life and they will feel like they can do the same for their lives. And then it's a cycle and it's going to be the norm for people to live in a healthy way, in a healed way. So it starts with yourself and then it dominoes outward. Everything in our lives start with ourselves. It starts with a thought, it starts with internal feeling, it starts with a desire. It starts, everything is centralized to our internal. Everything starts within us. And then it makes its way out. And then once it makes its way out to our physical lives and our reality, then it extends out to the physical lives and realities of other people. But anyway, I've shared my life with you guys. I've showed you guys my actual physical scars. I have almost cried on this damn video. And I've really opened up about myself. And I'm not saying I feel bad about it, but I do feel very tired now. So I'm going to get up off of here, but I hope that this, I guess you could say, this little energy of me going through my mind and sharing my life and my story and connecting it to what I've learned with astrology has been beneficial. And I hope that you guys start to study your own Chiron and start doing that work to heal yourselves. That way you guys can really unlock another level of potential in your lives. Love you guys. Bye. And also, I'm going to be changing my name. Bye bye.